Do, 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 do. Welcome to The More We Know, where Meg and Jessica
of Desperately Seeking the 80s
school each other on New York City trivia
that we are absolutely sure the other one does not know.
I'm excited.
Okay, so this is ridiculous.
Okay.
So this is the kind of trivia that I don't normally do on the podcast, but I love it so much. So here we go. In the 1980s, a study was done by a Florida museum and or university. I'll have to fact check, but it was a little muddled. But they wanted to know, and obviously Florida, this is going to make sense, what was more likely to get you in New York City than a shark bite? Who was going to bite you? Who was more likely to bite you in New York City?
Who was more likely to bite you in New York City, and Floridians wanted to know this?
Than a shark.
Than a shark.
Yes.
Should I guess?
And let me be clear, not a shark in New York City, just a shark.
A shark in general.
A shark in general. What is going to bite you and be much more terrifying in New York City than a shark would be in the world to you?
Do you want me to guess?
Yes.
I've got to say rat.
Wrong.
Bite. Dog?
Well, that's number one. But number two is much more interesting.
What is it?
Human beings. So.
Oh.
Yes.
My God.
So there at the time in the 80s, there were 14 shark bites per year in Florida. Whereas between 1984 and 1987, the average number of bites sustained by human beings as a result of other human beings was 1,589.
Wait, in New York?
In New York. And dog bites were at the top, as you correctly guessed, at 10,953. Rat bites were number 3, and that dropped pretty quickly to 311 reported problematic rat bites. Problematic. The bites that actually said
non-problematic rat
Well, I think that, there are those stoic types that are like, it's a nibble. It's a little nibble. It's nothing I really need to worry about.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but human beings, 1,589. So do you remember your episode about killer rats?
Yes.
And the biting and how terrifying that was? And that woman who was basically
she
running down the alleyway while being munched by rats?
Yeah.
Well, she should not have been so worried. She should have been worried about her neighbors or other humans.
That's insane.
Yes.
That's a visual.
It is. And so now, of course, I want to know, what are the statistics now?
Well, that's the follow-up.
Yes.
All right.
And I think that's
you owe us a follow-up.
Yeah. So you're welcome.
All right. You know how the bouffant hairdo in the 80s was actually really popular?
Yes, there were several varieties.
But just to name the people who would sport these, we're talking Ann Magnuson, Terry Garr, Annie Potts, the B-52s.
Yes. It was the 50s retro of the 80s.
It was a 50s retro thing, which, I mean, when you think about it, I don't know if you've ever tried to do your hair like this. That's a lot.
I have. And it takes so much hairspray and backcombing.
Well, apparently it caught on in part because in the East Village there was a salon with Mr. Steve, who was this ancient man.
Mr.
Mr.
Steve,
Steve,
him already.
who was ancient, and he had Coke bottle thick glasses, and he knew how to do the bouffant. He'd been doing it in that neighborhood for generations. And Ann Magnuson lived there, as did a bunch of those cool women in the 80s. And they would go to Mr. Steve, and Mr. Steve would give them their due. And then they would go out on the town.
We need a Mr. Steve.
Yeah.
We need something. We need to have campiness come back. Don't you think?
Sure.
I don't mean that we specifically are going to have bouffant hairdos.
I don't
though
think
we might. But what would we need?
Does it have to skip? Because we're talking about then it was
30
a 30
years.
year difference. So what's the 30 years now? Is it the 90s?
No, we are not going to go. No, we can choose whatever we want as high count.
Okay.
You know, I'm thinking like maybe the 60s flip has to come back. Like
Okay, I would do that. Mary Tyler Moore. I want to do Mary Tyler Moore.
Yes, we want to throw our hats up in the air. I'm sorry, I just ruined your do.
That's okay.
But yeah, your fabulous hair. Look at you. You don't need to have your hair done by Mr. Steve. You're perfect. Thank you.
Thank you
for your trivia.
Do, 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 do.